Hey guys, here again, yet again. We have breaking news in the Delphi case. My internet signal says it's low, so hopefully it's okay. If it buffers a little bit, it will come back, don't worry. So the hearing for Richard Allen happened today. This was a scheduled hearing that was on the docket, and it's a sad day. It's a very sad day for justice. Not just justice in Delphi, Indiana, but justice in any civilized society. That a judge can just come and ride roughshod over the law, over the Constitution, over, well, whatever she wants to do, she'll do. That seems to be the order of the day for Judge Francis Gull. So this isn't going to be a long live because what is there to say, really? I guess I'll just go through what happened and let's talk about it. So this was Richard Allen getting into court. The hearing happened about an hour and a half ago. So it was scheduled for 9 a.m. Eastern. So this is Richard Allen arriving at the courthouse. The judge might run the courtroom, but the judge has to abide by the law. The judge has to abide by due process. The judge has to abide by the Constitution. And at the moment, I don't see that in operation. I really don't. Exactly. It doesn't matter. At this point, it doesn't matter whether you believe Richard Allen is guilty or innocent. That does not matter at this moment in time. The issue is one of a fair justice process and one that is not unbalanced. The scales of justice are there for a reason. The scales of justice are balanced for a reason. The judge is the person who balances those scales. But when a judge is biased and not abiding by the law, that is a big problem. A huge problem. As I keep saying, I feel that I'm just saying the same things over and over again. I do. Anyway, what happened? So the hearing was delayed a little while, and it wasn't a long hearing. No cameras were allowed in the court because Judge Francis Gull said that the news channels that filmed the hearing on the 19th filmed people coming in and going out of the court, and that was wrong. So she banned cameras. In actual fact, she wanted cameras on the 19th so that attorneys Baldwin and Rosie could be publicly hung, drawn and quartered with absolutely no due process whatsoever. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. Let me just get rid of this video so I can put the comments on properly. No. It's nothing about being ambushed. It's about due process. Did due process occur in this situation? No, they didn't. So it's not about the emails that had gone on between the judge and Baldwin and Rosie and Slick Nick that had gone on from the 10th. I'm well aware of all of those emails, well aware of them. But they can't decide things behind the scenes in a meeting before a hearing, and the judge give the attorneys an ultimatum with no formal notice to disqualify them. The issue is due process. That's the issue. It's a little long to do a recap. So on the 19th, there was a special hearing that Judge Gull demanded to be happening. And it happened, but the hearing lasted for about 3 minutes. And Judge Frances Gull lied to the public. She lied, saying that both attorneys had withdrawn their services. In actual fact, what really happened was that they were called into chambers before the hearing and given an ultimatum, and they were told that they either withdraw or be named and shamed publicly. Andrew Baldwin withdrew. Brad Rosie said that he was going to withdraw in writing, and he didn't. And since then, there's been lots of communication from Brad Rosie. So I've documented it all in live stream. So there was a scheduled hearing today, and late last night, so it was like the middle of the night my time, it came out that Andrew Baldwin, and I'll show you the I'll put it on my community, so I'll show you the letter that Andrew Baldwin wrote. And there was some comment about this being fake, but it was real. So this was very late last night. It was about 3 a.m. my time when I found out about this. So Attorney Baldwin enters his appearance as Mr. Allen's privately contracted lawyer. Andrew Baldwin acknowledges his prior representation of Mr. Allen as his contracted public defender and reaffirms that he did not and has not voluntarily withdrawn from Mr. Allen's case in said capacity. The filing of this appearance is intended to convert on Attorney Baldwin's status as Mr. Allen's public defender to Mr. Allen's private counsel, wherein Attorney Baldwin will move forward with said representation on a pro bono basis in the event that he is not reinstated as Mr. Allen's public defender. As well over 1,000 hours of time spent reviewing evidence and analysing evidence and preparing Mr. Allen's case for trial, and with the desire to have the court hear suppression evidence and the desire to get this case in front of a jury as soon as possible in order to honour Mr. Allen's Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment and Sixth Amendment rights, Attorney Baldwin enters his appearance. So that was the letter from Andrew Baldwin. the news reported that Brad Rosie had also filed, although I haven't seen that documentation, filed as a pro bono private attorney. Richard Allen also wrote a letter. Now, I talked about this last night. Is this on my community or not? Sure, I put it on. There it is. Huh. Why will it not do big? Okay, so yeah, I don't know why it won't go big. Why can I not click on it and it go big? But anyway, you can get the gist. So this was a letter to the judge. So a confirmation letter signed by Richard Allen that he wants Attorney Baldwin and Attorney Rosie to carry on as his counsel. Okay, so that's what happened last night. Hearing was delayed, but eventually went forward. According to Bob from Defence Diaries, if you're not subscribed to Defence Diaries, I advise you to subscribe, because this is Bob from Defence Diaries. He was in the courtroom. Yeah, we know all about when that letter was written. I talked about all of that in my last live. We went through it all in my last live. We know that the letter was written on the 11th of October. It was written amidst this flurry of emails. We know all of this. Okay, so Bob was in the courtroom. So he's done a short live after the hearing happened. He's a defense attorney himself, and he said he was stunned. He's never seen anything like it. It's an absolute sham. So it's only a short live, so go over and watch what he said, because it's absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning what happened. So what happened? Okay. Baldwin and Rosie were both in the room. The new attorneys were not. So the new attorneys did not appear. And if you've been following my updates, or you've been following the updates that everybody's been talking about, Judge Francis Gull appointed a few days ago now two new public defenders. Robert Scremin and William Labrato. So go and watch my coverage of what I've said about those two. Absolute shambles, a sham. She's appointed those attorneys because they are her friends. And nobody will convince me otherwise. I'll die on the hill. I'll die on the hill for a lot of causes, and I'll die on the hill for this. She's appointed them because they are her friends. Simple as that. It's very dark in here. Hold on. It's dark because it's going dark early. It's like dark at like 5 o'clock now. That's better. So they weren't there, but Brad Rosie and Andrew Baldwin were. The judge came in and said, Mr. Rosie, what now? Because Mr. Rosie's like the head, like the chief of the public defenders for Richard Allen, and then Andrew Baldwin is his co-counsel. So she said, "What now, Mr. Rosie?" And he said, stood up and said that he wishes to represent Mr. Allen as pro bono. And she took a long time. She didn't speak for like forever. And she said, "I can't allow it. I can't allow you, Mr. Allen, to have these people represent you because they've committed gross negligence in the case. I can't allow it." So the trial has been put back until October 2024. So jury selection was due to start on January the 8th. Richard Allen has been in jail, or prison, should I say, since the end of October 2022. So he will have been in prison for 2 years by the time his trial is heard. Now, I know that's not unusual. In cases. It's more unusual in my country for someone to be in jail for 2 years. I mean, on occasion, it does, because there's delays and this and that and this and that. But it does seem to be in the US, certainly cases I cover and that I watch, there's a longer length of time between the arrest and the trial. I don't know whether it's to do with backlogs or whatever. But Mr. Allen has a right to a speedy trial. Doesn't everybody have a right to a speedy trial? Isn't that the case in the United States? I'm not American. So tell me, does everybody in the US who is accused of a crime, who pleads not guilty, have a right to a speedy trial? The answer is yes, before anybody goes and looks it up. He's not waived his right to a speedy trial. So, January 2024, he would have been in prison for 15 months. That's long enough. But now, because he's got his new attorneys who weren't even in the room, they just sent a message via the judge. Exactly. Thank you. So, Attorney Baldwin saying that Mr. Allen is, they want this in front of a jury as soon as possible. That's not going to happen. Mr. Allen has no rights anymore. Judge Francis Gull has literally taken the US Constitution and torn it into shreds. And Richard Allen has not waived his right to a speedy trial. But yet, by the time his case goes to trial, with attorneys who are not of his choice, who are the judge's friends, go and watch back my previous coverage. Certainly William Libretto is, absolutely sure. Not sure about the other dude, but William Libretto, Chief Public Defender in Allen County, where Judge Gull resides. They're even friends on Facebook. No, they weren't negligent. Not at all. So what should have happened is, and there's bunches, not just Bob from Defence Diaries that has weighed in on this. There's a lot of attorneys who are on YouTube who've weighed in on this. So I've watched a few, but I'm sure there's many that I don't know about. And I don't think anyone can understand it. I don't think anybody has seen this before in their own practice. The civil case that has been sent to the Supreme Court of Indiana that I talked about last night in my live stream, that will be ongoing. But that doesn't affect who Richard Allen's attorneys are, not directly anyway. Well, I talked about that last night. So there's a civil case been opened in the Supreme Court of Indiana on behalf of Richard Allen about the judge's misconduct. But I'm not going to kind of rehash all of that because I talked about that literally a few hours ago. But I will just point you to page 10, I think it is. So this is a 22-page document. I went through this on my live last night, so go and check that out. I think it's page. I've gone past it. I've gone past it. There it is. Okay, just read this. Okay. During the October 19th, 2023 in Chambers meeting at which Allen was not present. So Richard Allen was not even present for a discussion between the judge and his attorneys, whereby she was saying, I'm going to disqualify you, without any hearing, without any process, without anything. No, because I'm not an attorney, and I'm not, even if I was, I'm not licensed as an attorney in Indiana. So no, I can't do that. But I appreciate the sentiment. Okay. So Richard Allen was not present for that. There was no hearing. It doesn't matter how many emails have been behind the scenes, been sent between Slick Nick and the judge, and Slick Nick and the judge and Baldwin and Rosie. It doesn't matter. That's irrelevant. Absolutely irrelevant. This has to go through due process. There has to be a hearing whereby all the evidence is heard relating to what the judge deems to be gross negligence. Unless that happens, unless a formal hearing in the presence of Mr. Allen, and there is a valid argument based on witness testimony. One witness, of course, will be Mr. Allen. He's the defendant. And it doesn't matter that the judge is the law of the court. The judge herself has laws that she needs to abide by. This is why there's this civil case now been sent to the Supreme Court of Indiana. This is why, this is exactly why this has happened. That Richard Allen's team, the people backing him, the people behind him, are expanding. There's 3 attorneys who've put their names to this, who are kind of, I guess, representing Richard Allen for this civil case with the Supreme Court, because they feel that the judge is riding roughshod over the law. Laws are in Indiana, laws in the United States, the US Constitution, they lay it all out. They lay all out the law. I said last night in my live, and I know going through court documents and stuff is dry. There's no drama involved in it. You know, I get 3 times as many people in my lives if I talked about drama. but I prefer to stick to the facts and discuss what is actually happening in cases. And I said last night, I cannot stress enough how important this is. I cannot stress enough how important this is. And it's just proven my point. Today has proven my point that there's nothing more important in justice than due process. So, okay. The trial court read a prepared statement. So when it says trial court, it means the judge. So Francis Gull read a prepared statement to attorneys Rosie and Baldwin, accusing them of gross negligence in their capacity as Ellen's counsel. These acts of gross negligence included. So these are the things that Judge Gull believes constitutes gross negligence. So her definition of gross negligence, well, doesn't seem to be the same as everybody else's. Let's just put it that way. Yes, mistakes have been made from Andrew Baldwin's office. Right? You know, the leaking of those crime scene photos. Yes. But the other things? How can the Supreme Court rectify this? Well, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what the Supreme Court come back with. Efforts by the defence to level the playing field with a press conference. So these are the things that the judge didn't like. So the defence levelling the playing field with a press release after the prosecution filed multiple releases. So this was right at the beginning of the case. And if you saw my live stream yesterday afternoon, my time, I did 2 lives yesterday. So the second one was going through this document. The first one was called The Good Old Boys of Delphi. Please, please go and watch that. If you don't watch anything else today, please, please go and watch that live. Please. And it will show you how corrupt Carroll County, Indiana really is. Please go and watch it. Watch it on 2 times speed. I don't need the watch hours. Just go and watch it, please. Because I laid it all out. Thank you, Kindness Cake, from the $9.99. Thank you, thank you. Please stick with the dry facts. Well, I try. I give my opinion a lot. So I guess my opinion isn't a fact. But I discuss the facts. It does. It does, Addy. It absolutely does. It absolutely needs to be dismissed at this point. But they can't cope with that. They can't. The real reason why this has happened, and again, it's another thing that I'll die on the hill for. The real reason this has happened is because that memorandum made Carroll County, the sheriff's office, look like a laughingstock. You know, take all the organism and all the sensationalism away from it. And I'll point you to another one of my videos where I talked about the memorandum, not in talking about organism, but talking about 3 big lies that the memorandum exposed. That's the real reason. It's not about organism. Go and watch it. It's from maybe a couple of weeks ago. Let me just find it for you. Okay. I've been putting all this content out, and my content really has not been watched. And I've been laying it all out. And I said the other day that even though my views are down, and I don't care. I do not care about views. I care about getting this information out. At the moment, there's nothing more important than this, because this is a travesty, an absolute travesty. Not just for Richard Allen and his family, not just for Abby and Libby's families, not just for that, but for everybody who lives in civilized society, not just in the US, but in my country and everybody's country who believes they live in a civilized society. This is not right. A judge may believe they are the law of the court, and in many ways they are, but they are not a dictator. They have to abide by due process, and they have to balance those scales of justice. That is their job. That is their only job. Their only job is to apply the law in a balanced way and adjudicate between the two sides of the scales of justice. That's their only goddamn job. And she's very bad at her job. Let's just say that. She's very bad at her job. Thank you, Ivy, for the $5. Thank you. Thank you. That's very kind of you. Okay. Oh, yeah, I was showing you. Let's show you. You see all this content that I've been putting out, and look at the views. Look at them. Look at them. 4.4K, 6K, 9K. That's not bad. My views are way down because people are sick of this. They're sick of it. But I'm sorry. I'm keeping going. If I lose subscribers, if people tune out, there's nothing I can do about that because there's nothing more important. Yes, I could talk about the drama in the Summer Wells case. I could rehash what Don Wells has said. I could rehash what Candy said 2 years ago. Why, though? Yes, it's important to go back to the facts in the case, in any case. I could talk about Cam from Cracking Cases being arrested again. I could talk about that. Because last time I talked about that, I got 17K views. Whereas my Delphi videos, 4K, 5K. Not about views. It's not about the money. It's not. Anyway, where is this video? Hold on. I think I started there. Why can I not see it? What on earth? Hold on, I'll look at the playlist. I hate YouTube. I hate the playlist section. It drives me mad. It doesn't make sense. Hold on. Right, bear with me. Right. It's called 3 Big Lies, I'm sure of it. Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. There we go. That's it. That's it. The 3 Big Lies from the prosecutors of Richard Allen 3 weeks ago. So please go and check that out. Go and check them all out because I've been laying it all out step by step. Step by step. And I've also got a bunch of lives as well. So the one from last night, 4K views. Good Old Boys of Delphi, 6K views. I think that's possibly the best live stream I've ever done. So, you know, take it or leave it. Anyway, let's get back to this. So, the efforts by the defence to level the playing field with a press release after the prosecution filed multiple releases. Judge Gull, because the defence, Mr. Baldwin, chose to speak to the media in a very nice way, nothing inflammatory. I played it in the video, The Good Old Boys of Delphi. I played it. Go and watch it. Thank you, Amy, for the 19.99. Thank you so much. That's very kind. I know, Shelley. There's nothing to talk about in the Summerwells case other than rehashing stuff, and you know, it's only worth talking about when Don Wells has come out and done something silly on the internet. Is there a goldfish in here? I don't know. Is there? Don't tell my cat if there's a goldfish in here. Okay. So that was when she issued the gag order. They made one press release and then she issued a gag order. And the gag order is not the same as court documents. Again, something else I talked about last night. Filing motions to protect Alan's basic human rights, motions that the trial court either granted or that remain pending. Filing the Frank Memorandum that the trial court, i.e. Judge Gull, believed contained improper statements. It is not about Judge Francis Gull's opinion about the statements made in the memorandum. That is not her job. Her job is to adjudicate. Her job is not to go through those documents. I mean, she had to go through that document, to be fair. She had to, because it was an application for a Franks hearing. But it's not her job to make an opinion about what statements were inappropriate or not outside of a Franks hearing. If she did her job, instead of whinging about the amount of work she had to do, because in one of her filings this week, again, talked about this in a previous live, in one of her statements made this week, she complained about that memorandum, saying that there was thousands of hours worth of exhibits to go through, so no decision had been made. That's her goddamn job. What's she been doing? Because she's had that since the 18th of September. What's she been doing? What's she doing? How much is she paid? But what's she been doing? That's the job. That's her job. So if she felt there was inappropriate statements made in that documentation that was related to the process, not about opinion, not about the fact that Slick Nick looks bad or Tony Liggett looks bad. No, she has no, if she's got an opinion, she needs to keep that to herself. Otherwise, she is biased. She is tipping the scales of justice to Slick Nick's side. She is dirty, Oni Grands. She's a dirty, dirty, dirty girl. She really is. That sounded really bad. Helen, thank you for the £10. I've not seen you in chat for ages. And this came yesterday. This hat. I know you can't see it very well because it's like blending into the background. But Helen sent me this hat. This new hat. So thank you, Helen, for another hat. And yeah, it fits really well. It's like a winter one that covers my ears. So thank you so much. But I'll answer the question. Will Richard still be allowed to contact with Rosie and Baldwin? Otherwise, he's going to be scared and go further downhill. Well, yeah, they can. I guess they can contact him as a visitor, but they'll not have any rights to, any more rights than any other visitor would. So, yeah, they could visit him, but they can't make any comments about, the legal procedure or anything like that. Okay, so she complained about the thousands of hours of exhibits and all this reading she had to do. And yeah, you know, woe betide that a defence counsel actually does their job properly and comes with receipts. Woe betide them. Filing a tort claim, so that's a civil claim, to preserve Richard's rights to seek redress from conditions and treatment related to his incarceration. Because repeatedly his attorneys have expressed concern about Richard's well-being at Westville, and repeatedly she has declined him being taken to Cass County to a more appropriate housing. Will he even make it to October 2024? He's got another year at least. Will he make it another year? To me, he looked really frail going into the court today. I put a close-up. Did I put it on my community? I took a close-up from the video there. Look how... why will... I think this trackpad's like breaking. It doesn't like want to move. Why will it not? Anyway, look how frail he looks. I mean, he looks bulky because he's got this shock vest on. Like, well, it's a Kevlar vest. It's a bullet vest. But he has shock things that can give him shocks. He's chained. Like they're holding him like he's a bad dog. Shackled. Very thin under all of that. Will he survive? Oh, can't see it, can you? Wasn't sharing. But yeah, under that bullet vest, there's shock pads that can shock him. He looks very thin under all of that stuff. Okay. A third party's unauthorised photographing of crime scene evidence which neither attorney had knowledge of nor participated in. So to me, that's the only thing that she could complain about. In my opinion, that's the only thing. Nothing else. All these other things, not her fight. She needs to do her job. I can't say it in any other way. She needs to do her job. So if she wanted to reprimand Andrew Baldwin for allowing someone access to his office where they were able to take photographs of crime scene evidence, I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, it wasn't with his knowledge. He said he felt betrayed by it. It was a friend that he'd worked with. Again, did a video about this the other day. It's called Travesty of Justice. Let me show you one. It's recent. It's only just the other day. Why will it not let me? Okay. That one, 3 days ago. It's actually the last video that I did because I've been doing shorts and lives instead of like these videos. Absolute travesty of justice. So if she wanted to reprimand him for that, I wouldn't have an issue with that. But saying it was gross negligence, nah. Saying, because the thing is, the release of those crime scene photos does not, regardless of what some people say, it does not benefit the defence. It potentially harms his defence because it puts in people's minds just how horrific the girls' murders were. So it certainly doesn't benefit them in any way, shape or form. It's going really dark in here now, isn't it? I can't even open my curtains any further. I need to get a light in here for this winter. All right, so I just have to turn my camera off like I'm going to do now. But it's completely demoralizing. That's all. It really is. Thank you, Judy, for £4. And YouTube is telling me that is your first your first super sticker. It's weird that YouTube tells me that now. I don't know how long it counts. You know, does it say like this is such a body's 26th super? Does it? I don't know. A reprimand, yes. But we've got to remember that Brad Rosie does not work with Andrew Baldwin. They've been brought together as Richard Allen's public defenders by Francis Gull appointing them. They didn't work together. They have different firms. So Brad Rosie could not possibly have done anything about this person that Attorney Baldwin worked with in his office for 7 years, who he considered a personal friend, who betrayed him. Brad Rosie couldn't do anything about that. Brad Rosie wasn't there, doesn't work there. Completely different firm. Something else people don't understand. So why move to disqualify Rosie? Why? I'll tell you why. Because Slick Nick and Tony Liggett and the good old boys of Delphi didn't like that memorandum. They didn't like the fact that a good judge, a fair judge, would have taken a look at that memorandum. And yes, there's superfluous information in there. I would, that document, if I'd written it, it would be half the size. All right, it's superfluous information. But the important pieces in law, now I understand why they included the Odin stuff. I understand that. I understand why they named and shamed people, because it was necessary to set out their case. What I didn't agree with was that really long list of, you know, Abby's body, and that was silly. That was silly. If I'd edited that, I used to be an editor for an academic journal. So if I'd edited that piece, I would have cut it down by probably about half. Maybe a little bit. Maybe it would have been a little bit longer than half. But anyway, there was some superfluous information in there. But the important pieces where it set out very clearly how these people lied, how Liggett lied, how Dan Dullin lied, then if a good judge did the work that they were paid to do and adjudicated in a way that they were meant to do, that Frank's hearing would have had to go ahead, and they would have had to admit that the PCA that they put out was built on a lie. And they'd have had to dismiss the case. Go and check out my live stream from yesterday, the good old boys of Delphi, and go and check out the case of Jesse Snyder. Please go and check out the case of Jesse Snyder. If there's nothing else you do today, please go and listen to that live stream and go and check out the case of Jesse Snyder. And it becomes very clear. The scales will fall off your eyes if you have any doubt whatsoever about what's going on there in Carroll County. The scales will fall off your eyes and you'll start to see things for what they are. And they are the good old boys of Delphi. And sadly, Judge Francis Gull, in my humble opinion, is one of their friends. And she's now appointed 2 public defenders, at least one of whom is her friend. What chance does Richard Allen have of a fair process? And again, it does not matter whether you believe he's guilty or innocent. If he's innocent, it's an utter travesty. But if he is guilty and he's found guilty, he has got a big wedge to grind with the appellate court. He has got a very, very good case to appeal his conviction. Do you think that Abby and Libby's families want to spend years more going through this in the appeals court and this and that and the other? Do you not think that they want this done and dusted, that if Richard Allen's guilty, he's given a fair trial and due process is issued and he's convicted fairly and squarely? And at least that will be justice served. But anything less than a fair process is not justice for Abigail Williams and Liberty German. It just is not. It just is not. The Big Island, thank you for the $4.99. Second super chat from the Big Island of Hawaii. Oh, thank you. It's insane. It's insane. It really is. So the next thing in the case, I mean, presumably there's going to be more filings and there's going to be this and that. And there's going to be a lot of people live talking about this. And no doubt there's probably people live right now talking about this. But the next big thing, I think, is hearing from the Supreme Court of Indiana to see what they make of this document. To see what they decide in relation to this document. So Judge Francis Gull and Slick Nick have got until, doing this from memory, I think November the 8th or November the 9th to reply. And after which time, Loretta someone, who is the chief judge of the whole state of Indiana, then makes a decision as to whether to uphold this this case or not. And the 3 people who've brought this case, working on behalf of Richard Allen, are Maggie Smith, Cara Wernicke, and Jesse Cook. So good on them. Good on them for putting this together. I think it's a very, very good piece of writing. It's very persuasive, and it's facts only. And who is Rick Snail? Rick Snail's a content creator. His channel's called Delphi After Dark. That's who Rick Snail is. Glad Snail changed his views. You see, he's not someone that I've ever really watched. So all this talk about Rick Snail, kind of not in the club. Yeah, exactly, Helen. Let's hope this Loretta isn't a pal as well. Well, she's the chief judge of, the whole state of Indiana. So if she is, then the corruption is far bigger and far deeper than I imagine. I kind of imagine that this is a Carroll County problem, and Judge Francis Gull from Allen County is pals with some of these people. She's got Slick Nick and those best interests at heart. But I wouldn't like to think that the corruption goes all the way up to the Supreme Court of Indiana. Please, God, no. No, it can't be that way. Anyway, guys, I said this would just be a short live, and it is a short live. And I'll be back to videos tomorrow, unless, I caveat everything now with, unless there's developments later on. And then I'll be back with another live later today to cover that. So are we saying law enforcement set him up? Yeah, I think that's what we are saying. I think that's definitely what we're saying. Because Richard Allen was arrested 22 days before the election that elected Tony Liggett as sheriff. Again, go and watch the live stream from yesterday, The Good Old Boys of Delphi. All laid out there on a platter for you to be shocked by. I don't often blow my own trumpet, but I think that's the best live I've ever done, or at least one of the best lives. Oh, we've got Delphi After Dark in the house. Here we go. He's in the house. So that's Rick. That's who Rick is. Night, Michelle. It's not night here, Dulcie. It's nearly 4:20 in the PM. November 9th. Thank you, Jean. But yeah, please go and watch it, because it's interesting that Richard Allen was arrested 22 days before Sheriff Liggett was elected as sheriff. And I played a meeting, a mini debate between Tony Liggett and his opponent when the election race was going on. And in my opinion, Tony Liggett was awful. Compared to his opponent, his answers to the questions in that debate were very weak, in my opinion. So he probably was concerned about his capacity to win that election fair and square. But the good old boys of Delphi wanted him because he's a good old boy. And therefore, what better way to ensure that Tony Liggett, who'd been the chief detective on the case, to get an arrest just before the election? What would have, the people of Carroll County wanted more than an arrest in the biggest case that has ever been there in that place? The biggest case where, international eyes have been on the little town of Delphi, Indiana for, well, at that point, nearly 6 years at that point. What better way to ensure that he won that election but to issue an arrest? And isn't it interesting that, lo and behold, the reason why they found Richard Allen is because they went back to old tips. What if, and this is just a speculation, this is just a suggestion, what if they went back to old tips because they were looking for somebody that they could pin this on? And a month or 6 weeks ago, I never thought I would say that in this case. Never thought I would say that. And now I'm questioning everything, because the more I think about it, the more I mull over what's happened over the last year, the more background and the more context I learn, the more convinced I am that this has been a setup from day one. I hope I'm wrong, because that's a horrible thing to think about, a political gain at the hands of two murdered girls. It's a horrible thing to think, and it is just a suggestion. But I think it has to be one that's on the table and has to be discussed. So There you go. Has to be discussed. Has to. At this point, with everything that's happened, I think you've got to consider every angle. And that is one angle that I think is very, in my opinion, likely at this stage. So corruption happens. Corruption happens in my country. Corruption happens where people are not prepared to stand up, not prepared to voice what is wrong, not prepared to shed the light on the darkness and the whispering in corridors and the dirtiness of politics, because that's, if this is right, this is what it comes down to. It comes down to politics, local politics, where the good old boys of Delphi have had their way for maybe way too long. And they've done this before. Please go and check out the case of Jesse Snyder. Talk about Jesse Snyder. If you're in chats, right, if there's lives going on right now and you're going to head over there when I end this, or you're in groups, Facebook groups or whatever, wherever you go after this live, please go and look up the case of Jesse Snyder and talk about the case of Jesse Snyder. Because Dan Dulin had his hands, his dirty, greasy hands all over Jesse Snyder. And Jesse Snyder died because of it. Jesse Snyder had his life wrecked and his life ended because of it. Dan Dulin, the guy who interviewed Richard Allen in February of 2017 when Richard rang the tip line. And Dan Dulin, lo and behold, thought he'd recorded all of his interviews. But no, not this one. Couldn't find his recording of this one. Is it because Richard Allen didn't tell him that he was on the trails between 1:30 and 3:30? Is that the reason why that recording just, I've lost it. I'll keep looking, but I've lost it. Is that the reason that Richard didn't say that? But they had to put him there because, he was there. He admitted he was there. All they had to do was fiddle around with the time a little bit. All they had to do was fiddle around with what the witnesses saw a little bit. Sarah Carbo on County Road North there, who said that she saw a man with a blue coat who was muddy and bloody at 3:57, when actually what she really saw was a man with a tan coat and not bloody at all, just a bit muddy. I started to fiddle with that. That was Liggett's contribution to the lies here, in my opinion, allegedly. But Dan Dulin, you see, there's no proof that Richard Allen was there at all between 1:30 and 3:30 at the time of the murders. There's no proof because what Richard Allen might have said to Dan Dulin is lost to time. It's lost to time. It's one word against another. I think that's why Attorney Baldwin said in his letter yesterday that he wants to see this go to a jury as soon as possible, because I don't think there's a jury in the great state of Indiana anywhere in civilized society that would convict Richard Allen on the evidence that they've got against him. All this is my opinion. So there's corruption everywhere. And corruption will continue to be the bane of civilized society until people stand up and be counted. And that's why I'm so proud of Baldwin and Rosie for standing up for their client, for not just going quietly into the night, standing up for their client. I don't know what else they can do, at least until after the trial. I don't know what else they can do. But please go and check out the case of Jesse Snyder. Please go and check it out. If you've got doubts about what I'm saying, go and check that out. All right, guys, I'm going to call it a day here. I did say I was going to keep this short so that there's more chance of people actually watching if I keep the live shorter. But if there's any developments later, keep a check on my community tab. But if there's a significant development later, then I will be back with another live. Otherwise, I will be making a video tomorrow. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being, as always, respectful in my chat. Thank you for the people who donate. It's very welcomed. It's I'm not making hardly any money off the content that I'm putting out at the moment. But again, money's not an issue at the moment. I just want to get this out. I'm not looking for viewer numbers at the moment. We all want views. We all want, if you're a creator or anywhere on social media, you want your content to be looked at. You want your content to be discussed. Of course you do. But at the moment, I'd rather not chase the cases where I know I'll get bigger views. I'd rather just keep putting this content out, keep pushing it out, and with the hope that at least some people will see it and will listen. So any donations are very welcome, just to keep this going. And I will see you all soon. Best wishes to the mods, as always. And thank you once again to Helen for my new hat. All right, guys. I shall see you very soon. Bye, folks.